Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a good one lined up for you guys. We are going to compare an American-made Paul Reed Smith versus a Korean-made PRS SE. Now, as per usual, we're going to do a full feature run through and hopefully make an account why this one is so much more expensive than the SE. And of course, we'll do a full playing run through, including soloing, riffs, and some basic chord progression, so you guys can really hear the tonal difference between these two instruments. So we're going to be comparing custom 24s, which means we've got 24 frets and 2 humbucking pickups. Now, the switching is very different between these two models, so we'll talk about that in a second. But these guitars originated in the mid-80s, so they're not really new kids on the block. They've been around for a while. And Paul did a really great job finding, a classic design. It's really hard not to make a straight derivative of a Strat or a Les Paul. But Paul really took the middle ground, and, the idea was to take the best of both worlds and create something new. So we've got a mahogany body and a carved maple top, which is kind of the best of Les Paul. And then we've got this really cool double cut, lightweight, ergonomic body, which is kind of the best of a Strat. From there, Paul decided to just split the difference between Fender and Gibson. So we've got a 25-inch scale length, which is, again, right in between 24 3/4 and 25 1/2. So kind of just splitting the difference and giving the guitar its own voice. So that's interesting. And the fretboard radius too, it's 10 inches. So it's in between Fender and Gibson again. Not quite as flat as Gibson, not quite as rounded as Fender. Now, when we look at the headstock, again, it's a throwback to those two classic companies. We get a 3+3 design and a mahogany neck, which is very similar to Gibson, but we get straight string pull through the nut, which was a great innovation of Fender, and of course, a really shallow tilt back. All right, now let's discuss the differences between the Korean-made PRSs and the American-made Paul Reed Smiths. So we've got the same kind of body, mahogany body, maple top, and then the fancy flame. I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but the fancy flame top is just a thin veneer of wood. On the American-made ones, it's a solid piece of maple. Now, the model I chose was a gold top, so you don't really see that, but underneath and all along the binding, you can see it's a beautiful piece of flame maple. So that's one of the differences, a straight, thick maple carved top on the American-made ones. And this one's just slightly beveled, so it doesn't have that beautiful carve of the American-made ones, but the wood construction is very similar. Another difference on the Korean-made models is that the necks are actually made of maple. Now, you can't tell because they're painted, but I think it was a great choice to choose maple for their student edition models, simply because, on lower-end guitars, they tend to get knocked around a little bit more. Maple's very rigid, very strong, proven wood in guitar making, so I think it was a great choice to go with maple. And then on the American ones, you get a full mahogany neck. All right, we've switched back to our American-made Paul Reed Smith, and here you can see the full mahogany neck. And we get locking tuners on the headstock, which is a great feature that the SE doesn't get. So really lightweight, and when we flip it over here, you can see exposed gears, so you save a little bit of weight on the casting, which means you're never gonna get that neck droop that some guitars suffer from. Very frustrating. So yeah, great locking tuners. The exposed gears, I think, look really, they give it a nice artistic kind of look, a very high-end look. We've stripped the back covers off the American-made Paul Reed Smith. Here you can see, the nice mahogany body. And one of the big differences between the American model and the Korean model is you get a big brass block on the American model. And I think the saddles are brass as well. They're just finished, and the adjustment screws as well. So you get a lot of brass on the trem system, which is a great upgrade. And on the electronics, you get full proper pots. On the PRS SE, the Korean-made models, they're alpha pots. So you get cheaper electronics, obviously, on the less expensive guitar. Imagine that. But yeah, high-end electronics, obviously, on the American-made one, and more affordable or more readily available, cheaper ones on the SE model. And quickly, let's go through a couple more differences on the inlays on the birds. On the SE, it's just sort of like a little mother of pearl, slight coloring. And on the American-made one, you get these beautiful abalone inlays on all the birds. So it just really shimmers in the light and looks very beautiful. And the other thing we should talk about is fret material. Now, Paul famously says he does not like the sound of stainless steel frets. He's a very precise and somewhat quirky guy. If you've ever seen interviews with him, yeah, he's an interesting character. But anyway, yeah, he famously says he's not going to put stainless steel frets on his guitars because he doesn't like the tone. I don't know, but he does use a very hard fret material on the American-made ones, and on the SEs, the Korean-made ones. If you're going to put a lot of hours in, you're probably going to wear those frets down because they're not the same hardness of material on the frets. And finally, the switching. So on the American-made Paul Reed Smith, we've got a 5-way selector, and on the Korean-made PRS, we've got a 3-way switch with coil taps. All right, let's do some tones for you guys. Let's hear what these pickups sound like. And each guitar has been strung up with 10-gauge strings. All right, some final thoughts on these two instruments. The PRS SE, the Korean-made one, actually has really high hot output pickups, which I was surprised by. So in terms of like volume matching and stuff, it really kicks out some signal, which is really cool. Now on the American-made one, it's a little bit more complex. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear that, maybe if you listen through some good monitors or a good set of headphones, but it has a more complex sound, and I'm not sure how to really articulate that other than maybe there's some more overtones happening on the American-made one, and the Korean one really punches out sound, but can sound a little boxed in. I do like that the SE can go into single coil mode, something that the American-made one can't. The way the switches are broken up are pretty cool on the American-made one, but I think I do prefer the option to go into single coil mode. And I'll wrap it up by saying this: the playability on the SE is excellent. This thing plays like butter. The trem system is great. It lacks maybe some of the materials of the American-made one, but it always returns to tune, pop-in bar, no play in the system. Great design on the trem. Pickups sound good. Playability is excellent. So this is a really fun guitar to play. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. It's priced kind of right above Made in Mexico Fenders and Epiphone Les Paul. So it's in that upper tier of mid-range instruments, under $1,000. So it is an investment, but yeah, if you're in the market and your budget kind of is in that range, definitely try one of these babies out. Now, when we talk about the American-made Paul Reed Smiths, it's more akin to a work of art. Every detail has been looked after in a meticulous way. So from the strap buttons to the trem system to the fret ends to the lightweight headstock, everything has been thought of and thought through. So when you get an American-made Paul Reed Smith, you basically get the best that money can buy. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this comparison. It was a lot of fun to throw together for you guys. My information will be on the screen right now. Have a great day, you guys. We'll see you next time with a new video. Take care.